It's been 1 whole year since we had our plans approved for our extension. To get us started, we needed to take out the old kitchen and make a start on removing a wall or two. We needed to replace some foundations for the existing house and add the new foundations for the extension. Now the concrete was dried, we started to lay the first breeze block. After a few weeks of block laying, some of the steel arrived and was installed. And just like that, the structure started to take place. We went back to block laying and continued to do so for a few months. We got a bit bored of block laying and turned our hand to some carpentry. A few mistakes here or there, which we won't talk about, which Reese resolved quickly and we were back on track. The sun had disappeared and we had more block laying to do. Roll on into July and it was Reese's 31st birthday.
Here's a cupcake.
Guess what we did? You're right, more block laying. Scaffolding had been installed all around the property. Reese made a start on changing the pitch of the roof on the old kitchen. Then we installed all the furring pieces that Reese DIY'd. On maybe the hottest day of the year, we decided to do the OSB installation, which nearly killed us. With the forecast being hot and sunny, we decided to lay out all the rubber. However, we woke up the next morning and it had rained. After we had dried off the rubber, we then started to use the EPDM primer to prime and glue all the joints together. September had rolled around and it was time for us to start tackling the roof. The first task was for us to remove the chimney. We had planned on re-rendering the chimney, but after having an inspection, it was deemed best to take it down. With the scaffolding already in place and a number of builders letting us down, we decided to tackle the chimney ourselves. With the chimney successfully down, we moved on to tackling the roof. Originally, we had got quotes for somebody to come and do the roof for us. With quotes varying from £7,000 to £22,000, we decided to tackle the roof ourselves. We bought all the materials for £3,500 and started the gruelling task of ripping the old roof off. We had never replaced a roof before and we were unsure of the best way to start. We decided to do each side at a time. With the Welsh weather changing its mind all the time from sunny days to rainy days, we thought this would be best as we didn't want the interior of the house to get wet. We found some treasures in the attic and some awful repairs that had been made to the roof. And just before we knew it, we were in October. The nights were getting darker and it was getting very cold outside. By this point we had had enough and we just wanted the roof to be complete. We installed 2 new Veluxes. With all this being said, we learnt a hell of a lot from doing this roof, but I don't think we'll do one ever again, and we'll leave it to the professionals next time. Here's a cheeky before and after, and if I do say so myself, I think we did a cracking job. The Christmas bells are ringing and we are in December. We would love to put our feet up and relax for Christmas, but we have a renovation to do. We hired a crusher to crush all of the roof tiles and house bricks. In the end, we had around 16 tonnes of hardcore. We will be using this in the house to backfill after we dig out all the floors. We had some time off from our day jobs at Christmas and we decided to come inside and start knocking down walls. With some of the walls knocked down, the open plan living area was starting to come to life. Then the back-breaking work started, digging out of the floors. We started in the old kitchen area and started to take out the old concrete floor. Our datum level meant that we needed to dig down 535 millimetres, which would give us the correct height for the whole house. With some help from our friends, we were finally down to level in the old kitchen and the old dining room area. Now we were down to level, we could start working our way back up. We did this by adding the hardcore and whacking it down. On top of the hardcore goes the sand. Then we could cover the whole area with plastic. Building control stated that we needed to add rebar into the concrete. In true DIY fashion, we left all of this to the night before the concrete was arriving. How are you finding it?
Tired.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock now. After a few hours of sleep, the concrete pumping people arrived at 7:30, and Rhys threw his wellies on to get ready. With the concreting finally done, we had a sturdy surface to walk on, as we had months and months walking around in the mud.
As our garden was starting to look a bit like a quarry, it was time to get in the waste disposal team. Now that we had solid ground in the extension, it was time to relocate the kitchen into a semi-permanent position. We even splashed out on a cheap worktop that was slightly damaged, so we had a good discount. As the temperatures dropped, we even experienced some snow. Even though it was cold, we still had a lot of work to get done, so it was time to put the hat and scarf on, crack on with work. Here we knocked through the doorway for the new utility room. After putting it off for a while, I had to drop the ceilings for the bathroom and utility room.
It was now the end of January and we were back up on the roof because Rhys needed to change the upstands.
I had to add a 5-degree tilt because we changed the supplier of our glass skylights. This allowed me to finish all the upstands with the uncured rubber EPDM flashing. Now we are finally ready to have the skylights installed.
The most exciting and nervous day had arrived. It was time for the skylights to be installed. The company had dropped the skylights off and it was down to us to fit them. Luckily enough for us, my brother-in-law is a window fitter. He came down with his boys to help us install them. After a few tense hours, we managed to install them. Each skylight weighed 125 kilograms. Now the skylights have been installed, we give the go-ahead for the scaffolding to be removed from around the front. We needed this done because very soon we were hiring a digger and we needed it to come through the front door. Before this happened, we needed to knock down the wall to make room for our new bathroom area. While Rhys was doing the hard work knocking the wall out, I was stripping off all the wallpaper. We had so much damp that the wallpaper was just falling off. 3 rooms stripped of the wallpaper and it was starting to really feel like a building site. Before we started digging the floors out, we wanted to make sure that we dropped all the ceilings so that all of the messy work was done. Now that the ceilings were down, we needed to remove all of the parquet flooring in the hallway and one of the bedrooms. We currently have this in storage as we are planning on DIYing a dining table. It was now the beginning of March and we had hired a mini excavator. The plan was to excavate all 3 rooms in the bungalow. At first we struggled to get the digger in and wondered whether we made the wrong choice.
I don't know whether I've made a mistake because this is quite a big machine. I've got to try and get in these 2 rooms, so I'll be taking the door linings out. But I don't know if I'm going to have enough turning circle to get them in.
But with Rhys's patience, we finally had the digger inside the house and we could start excavating. We underestimated how much earth would be coming out of the house. In total, we used around 4 grabber trucks for all of the earth that we've had removed so far. There was only so much that could be dug out with the excavator, and a lot of it had to still be hand dug into the wheelbarrow so we could ship it outside. Now that the oversight was done, we could start building the floor back up. The makeup of all of the floors in our house is 150mm hardcore, 50mm sand, then a DPM layer, followed by 150mm concrete with rebar, 150mm insulation. On top of all that will be the underfloor heating pipes, followed by 50mm of screed. At this point, we had only successfully dug out the first 2 front rooms instead of all 3. This was due to it just taking longer than we anticipated. Now that the 2 front rooms were concreted, we then moved on to the new bathroom, utility space and hallway. When we had the digger, we softened all the ground so we could just shovel it easily into the wheelbarrows. Now that we had finished the bathroom and utility, we moved on to the old bathroom and hallway area. We needed to add plumbing into this area before the concrete goes down. And just like that, all of the plumbing was in. Back to digging, and we were being very careful of this lead water pipe that runs through the house. Now that the pipe was exposed, Rhys could cut it off and put a new connection in to put a new water supply around the back of the house. This meant we could easily dig up the hallway. Now that the hallway was clear, it was time to add gravel around the sewer pipes. Now this was done, we could add the rest of the hardcore to the remaining areas. After compacting this, again we could add the sand and the DPM layer. With all this complete, it was time for the concrete pour. With 95% of the rooms inside the property dug out and concreted, we turned our attention back to the parapet wall. We had left this for a few months due to the weather, but the weather is starting to pick up. We needed to finish adding the 100mm insulation into the wall cavity. Now this was complete, Rhys could carry on laying his blocks. We had a few tiles on the roof that we needed to complete. And just like that, we were on to laying the last block of the extension. We were thrilled that all the block work was finally done, but we needed to move on to the capping. We have used 18mm OSB to cover the top of the parapet wall, and we have added a 3-degree fall to allow the rainwater to run off. And this brings us back to May 2024. We have had so much work done in the last 2 weeks that I'm so excited to share with you. From all new windows everywhere, to underfloor heating being installed, to our screed being poured, and even the aluminium capping has arrived and been fitted. Leave us a like and a comment down in the description box if you enjoyed this video and if you would like to see more of this style of video. Hope you've enjoyed the last year of our renovation project.